Welcome back, everyone, to the Flyin podcast. We are here tonight on an off week for FC Cincinnati, but a lot of things going on, Sam. We had the All-Star game. We had Team USA playing in the Olympics. We got a new signing for FC Cincinnati. We're going to have some cards of the week on the second part. We'll talk about an open practice that was available for the season ticket members, as well as a little FC Cincinnati 2 news, as well as a Leagues Cup preview. So a lot to talk about tonight. Sam, how we doing?
Yeah, doing good. Happy to be back. I know I missed last week, but um, I'm excited to talk about everything that we got going on. I know All-Star Game was, a big event, especially for MLS. Transfer window is still open. We made our first move. Was really cool to see him in action with Ryan to the practice. So we'll talk a little bit about that. But yeah, I'm excited to get into the second half, especially after, three losses in a row.
Yeah, it's a little bit of a brighter episode, one might say. The All-Star game was fun, Sam. We had an All-Star week in Columbus, but we had a little flair of FC Cincinnati. So on Tuesday, we had the skills challenge, and we had Lucho that was participating. So he was in the touch challenge with Cucho, which, I mean, like they mentioned, hell must have frozen over for those two to play together. But they did well together. And then Lucho also did the crossbar challenge at the very end there. Unfortunately, did not hit the crossbar to win it. So Liga MX took the crown on that one. But what did you see in the skills challenge, or what were your thoughts?
Yeah, I think honestly, I think the MLS, I like the skills challenge that they do. I think out of all the major sports, like it's probably one of the best. I think it has a lot of different elements to it and shows off different skills of the different players, which is really cool to see. Um, yeah, Cucho and Lucho together. I mean, they honestly they worked pretty well together, which was interesting to see. I know prior, during the I think the media day and stuff, they were talking about setting the rivalry aside a little bit during the All-Star weekend, but Lucho said he was going to give him some crap and vice versa. But yeah, Lucho in the crossbar challenge, gosh, I think he missed twice. The first time I think hit like that back panel right behind the crossbar, so he almost ended it. But yeah, it looked like a really good time.
Do we have a favorite event out of it? I know you said you enjoy it the most, but favorite event maybe from the All-Star game.
I mean, as far as like watching it, I think I like either the volley challenge or the touch challenge. Those two just skill wise, being able to see just how crazy people can get. But as far as like if I were to participate, I would love to participate in the crossbar challenge. I think just that, you do it just you in the field, right? Like that's something that you play by yourself, hitting the crossbar. So what about you?
I'm gonna go, yeah, very similar. I love a crossbar challenge. I think there's a lot of rivalry with that. You know, that's the thing you end practice in. So a lot of guys are a little bit familiar with that one. The volley one is tough. I mean, hitting it off the volley and having to like score a bicycle kick or half volley, very, very difficult to do. Same with the touch challenge, though. I mean, one touch either to your teammate or by yourself and trying to get it into a target is pretty difficult. But the goalie wars were interesting, Sam. I mean, like they were throwing the balls into the goals or kicking it into the goal, which I thought was interesting too. But yeah, I would have to agree, of all the different like major sports in the US especially, like they do a decent job with doing the skills challenge, and all the things around the All-Star game. So that was cool to see, at least on Tuesday night. I tuned in just because we had guys in it, which was always cool to see. Same with the All-Star game. So Wednesday night, the MLS All-Stars played the Liga MX All-Stars. Unfortunately, did not win. We actually got stomped in this game. It was not a positive result. If that's what you want to look at, again, it's an all offensive type game. It's a showcase of the best players from each league. Um, Interesting, Sam, that Brandon Vasquez had a poster in the stadium. He was like, I guess, in the Nordecki, behind, where it was for the skills challenge. But, Brandon's not in this all-star game. So interesting to see that there was some nod to him, but he wasn't included in the game.
Yeah, I did see that prior to, leading up when they were kind of showing what the stadium is going to look like and stuff. And lo and behold, you see a Liga MX poster with Brandon Vasquez on it, and he's not there. It kind of gives me similar vibes of for Major League Baseball. I don't know if you saw, but for the London series, I think it was I think it was the Cardinals or the
Hmm.
Mets or some
Cardinals.
Cardinals. Yeah. So there was a guy like on the Cardinals who hasn't been on the Cardinals for like 2, 3 years that was like a part of their poster. It's gives me similar vibes to that.
Yeah, good point. I mean, just know like who's going to be there really is what it is. And does that mean Brandon, turned it down maybe, or I don't know. It's interesting. Doesn't like Columbus still is my thought. But in the All-Star game, we had Lucho as the captain. I thought that was really cool to see him walk out as the captain in Columbus. Again, a slap in the face for some Columbus fans there. He got huge boos when they introduced him as well, which I just think is hilarious. And every time FC Cincinnati fans were shown on the big board, they got booed as well. So, big rivalry there, of course. In the first half, though, Sam, we get Lucho playing. He draws a possible penalty. And who would have thought in an MLS All Star game there would be VAR review?
Yeah, I'm sure I saw a lot of tweets about like what are we doing? Like it's an all-star game, like just let the boys have fun, go play. Like why do we need VAR? And then obviously you saw that it gets overturned. I thought it was interesting too. Prior to the PK getting overruled, you saw Lucho handing the ball off to Cucho to take the penalty as well. So interesting, play between those two. I also just in general, very weird to see Lucho wearing the number 11 for the All-Star game. Like that's just not, it just didn't look the same. Not the same feel. Like,
Which is an honorable like card of the week. If you know Messi's not going to be there and that's
yeah,
determined ahead of time, give Lucho his number 10 then. I
he's the
mean,
captain
really,
too. Like,
yeah, he's the captain as well. And, maybe it's for jersey sales. They want the Messi 10 jerseys that they can sell. But again, we never got to see, as I mentioned in the last episode, that I don't think you could buy Lucho All-Star game jerseys anywhere. They
yeah.
limited it to the Columbus players and to Messi. So, again, kind of ridiculous. But we'll move on. As we go along, though, second half, we do see Luca Orishano comes in, plays left wing back, has a really good 45 minutes, almost hits another banger of a goal from half field. Just Luca doing Luca things. But yeah, I think he looked well. He fit in well with the All Stars. A lot of guys that were impressed by him. I think Ricky Puig talked about how much he enjoyed playing with him. And Jordi Alba apparently had dapped him up at the end and said, we'll stay in contact. So pretty cool moment for Orishano. And I think really cementing that he's a star in this league.
Yeah, absolutely. I think it goes to show what he was saying earlier. Like he wants to stay with FC Cincinnati and wants to, be a part of this and, continue to understand the U.S. culture and, really just be a part of the All-Star weekend. But like you said, yeah, he looked really comfortable on the ball. You could feel when he tried to shoot it from half field, the announcers and the crowd really got excited for a minute there. Just goes on top of the net though. But to your point, he had a nice little 1-2 exchange with Ricky Puig. Ricky hits I think it was the post, or yeah, it was the
Mm-hmm.
post, and then it comes off the post. Orlando has a chance to volley it in, and unfortunately gets cleared. But good chance that probably would have went in if there wasn't a body there.
Yeah, I mean, both of them look promising, is really what it is. And like Lucho was dangerous, Orishano was dangerous. I mean, just awesome moment for them. We would have had Miles Robinson there as well if it wasn't for him being in the Olympics. But as we also had the All Star game for the MLS players, we had an MLS Next Pro All Star game, and one Stefan Chirilla gets a goal in the MLS Next Pro All Star game. Again, solidifying that this kid is the real deal. Him and Kevin Sullivan, future Man City player, were connecting for the East team, and it looked like they, I think, won 3-2 or 4-2. I think it
4-2.
was
Yeah,
4-2.
4-2.
Yeah, so pretty cool to see another FCC guy there. Also relevant and coming out today, Sam, there is news that FC Cincinnati is interested in bidding for the 2027 All-Star game, according to Chris Witterich, who had put that online. And then it was confirmed by a lot of local outlets as we had some people in town today. Pretty cool. I don't know your initial thoughts on that. I think I'm pretty pumped.
Yeah, I think Anytime we're able to bid for something like that and have an opportunity to bring an event like that to the city, I think it speaks volumes about what we can provide. However, I think it also speaks to what we were talking about at practice, which was we need to get working on that north side of the stadium project if we even stand a chance of getting this bid.
Yeah, Central Parkway got solidified and just got a bunch of dollars thrown at it, to revitalize it. But let's start working on that district just north of the stadium there. And that I think will solidify us getting the bid. Hopefully that kind of gets across the line sooner than later because I'm very excited about it. But as we moved along, so like we had mentioned earlier, Team USA had also played 2 games since our last podcast for the Olympics. Unfortunately, lost 0-3 to France. A very difficult game to play in France. Their
Tough
first
France
game, first
team,
event.
just tough,
Tough,
tough.
yeah. Thierry Henry is their coach. Um, yeah, I feel like Team USA did a decent job. Miles actually played all 90 minutes, so Miles Robinson was in there contributing. Maybe the last goal is on his mark, but it kind of looked like he slipped on that
Yeah.
on the set piece. But yeah, I think Miles played well and showed that he can play with a high talent level, even though it is the U23 France team.
Yeah, of course. And I mean, anytime you go up against a powerhouse like the French national team, regardless of, the age, the competition, like, they're going to be pretty good all the way through. So, um, it was nice for those under 23s to kind of get that experience against them to really understand, okay, this is the level of play that we need to be at, going forward in my, U.S. men's national team career. But it was also nice for them to get back on top and get the win against New Zealand 4-1. Once again, Miles played all 90 minutes and actually like the US men's national team got off to a hot start, right? It was 10 minutes in, we got a
Mhm.
PK, I believe.
Yeah, I believe you're right on that. And the quick start is what they needed.
Yeah.
To advance out of the group, we had to get 3 points in that game. New Zealand was like a decent opposition. Shout out to their guy that gets the goal, actually, is a former player at the Northern Kentucky University. Northern Kentucky to the Olympics. Pretty cool there, Sam. I know you have a personal connection with that, but pretty cool. I guess for the U.S. to actually score 4 goals. It was the first time in any Olympic game that they had scored over 3 goals. So now they'll play Guinea, I believe, which is tomorrow or Wednesday. I can't remember which one. I think it might be tomorrow. So by the time you're listening today,
Yeah.
and hopefully they get a win on that one as well and move on to the knockout phase. It's really good exposure for Miles, good experience for him. I think probably honestly his first time playing really overseas, unless he had played with a younger Team USA squad or even I guess internationally for friendlies. But first time in meaningful competition over there.
Yeah, absolutely. And then, you had the women's team has been playing really well. I know I think they play Wednesday and the men's
Mhm.
team plays Tuesday. So it'll be interesting to see both sides, got Rose Lavelle going for the women's team. Um, but yeah, I think any time that we have a player in the Olympics, like you said, it's kind of similar to the All-Star game. Like we're gonna tune in and we're gonna, see how well they do.
Yeah, pretty cool. I think I had seen even some FCC fans were sharing the plane with Miles Robinson over to France as he was joining Team USA, which I thought was just pretty cool as well. But talking about center back, Sam, we did have a new signing since the last time that was officially confirmed. So Chidozie Awaziem signs for FC Cincinnati, a 27-year-old center back that's from Nigeria. 6'2". There was kind of conflicting reports on his height there. But he's going to be a solid player for us. I'm excited. He joins Obi as the other Nigerian player, but they grew up in the same town. So pretty cool to have him on our squad. Much needed help, as we've been saying.
Yeah, I think he brings a lot of good experience. I think like we had tweeted out a full kind of bio on the guy. But he's got Conference League and Champions League experience. So he brings a lot of European experience, kind of similar to, Buka when he first came in. He brought a lot of like that Champions League experience. But not only does he have it at the club level, Chido also has a lot of appearances for the Nigerian team. I believe this season alone, he's got 27 appearances for the Nigerian national team. So really cool to see that. Or
He's
sorry,
got 27 appearance
sorry,
for the national
34,
team
34 overall.
overall.
27,
Yeah, I was gonna
27
say.
for club. I misread, but 34 overall in his career, which is, I mean, still pretty solid for the national team. Um, I was very surprised we only got him for what, 500,000, right?
Mhm.
So pretty cheap deal right there for somebody who's a 71 overall on EAFC. I know all of our supporters love to see and hear about that. So I think he's a steal. I really do. I think he's going to help us bolster the back line a lot more than the second half here.
I mean, in talking about a guy that has been on our radar for a few years now, and to
No
get him
kidding.
only
Yeah.
for 500,000 is kind of a steal in a way. I mean, they had their eye on him for a while. Obi's been trying to convince him, to come over to FC Cincinnati and telling him about the team in the city, which is really cool that we have another guy that's vouching for us and that has been happy, especially a guy that's coming from overseas. So I'm interested most to see, obviously his transition. Right now, he's waiting his visa to be able to train. So we're not hopefully going to see him, soon, but we did not get to see him in the open practice participating. We got to see him there and around, and I know he looked pretty happy to be there, but definitely was itching to get out there. My initial kind of like scouting report on him, pretty physical center back, plays decent balls into the channels, which is what Miazga had done well, and we needed to kind of fill that void with. Some of our other guys right now don't distribute it as well, so I feel like Awaziem or Chido comes in and can kind of fill that. He does look pretty solid in the air. And for set pieces, that's going to be huge, both offensively and defensively. But just to have a good connection with some of the guys on the field. The dude speaks four different languages, which is just awesome. So having a new guy come in is there's always an issue with that, but the fact that he speaks English is really cool. Sam, it's his sixth team, gonna be maybe now seventh team in like 6 or 7 years. So every single year he's been on a different squad. We have Chido signed through 2024, 2025 with options for 26 and 27. So hopefully he has found his home here. And for those wondering if that is like a bad thing, go and look at Matt Miazga and all the teams that he was on prior. Over in Europe, those guys just get loaned out like crazy. So
Oh
I'm not
yeah.
I'm not too worried about that.
No, yeah, nice to have him locked down. Hopefully, that means that he can kind of give us some long-standing good form over this next couple of years. But once again, he's going to be a great guy, I think, not only for when Miazga and Miles gets back, but also I think he'll add to the back line for guys to look up to, like Keller. Like Keller can look up to him. Our young guys like Murphy can look up to him, right? So just another veteran presence that's a little bit older than them to kind of help them out.
We're fulfilling our EAFC ultimate team, connections.
Yes,
We got that
the green
solid
lines.
green
Yeah,
lines
yeah, yeah.
going. We had the U.S. men's national team guys, but now we have a green line with Obi in the midfield. So I'm loving that. But speaking, as you mentioned, a spot of need, obviously center back is what we're saying. Sam, I didn't have you on last time to hear your thoughts. Now that we have Chido officially here, where do we go next? What's the next thing that you're hearing or that we're seeing that we're gonna bring in?
Yeah, I know the U22 spot is still open, right? And obviously without Haglin and Miazga, we're still kind of a little bit lacking in that center back spot, especially, Miles gone too for, extended period of time. So I think those two things are still going to be up there. However, I still think that in the midfield, we need some depth in the midfield. I know, thank God, we got back Pinto. He's back training with us, but I still think we need a piece in the midfield a little bit more than we do a center back, in my opinion, especially with the signing of Chido. So with that, if you want to use the U22 striker, um, U22 spot for a striker, I've only got one name, Thomas Angel or Engel. He plays for LAFC. He's got 5 appearances this year, 1 goal in MLS play. He also has 5 appearances in MLS Next and 3 goals. So He's the lowest forward on their roster, so he's shown some promise and just needs more minutes and would fill, like I said, that U22 spot. Currently sitting at around like 600 thousand right now for value wise on transfer market, which obviously is always, we could probably get him for way less than that. But the other shout, I mean, I know he still needs to prove himself, but do we just like do we do it and we just give Shrilla the U20, like the U22 spot? Like the kid is balling in MLS Next in the All-Star game. Like the FCC too. I know we're going to talk about it later, but he scores in that game too. Like, do we just give it to him? I don't know. What do you think?
I mean, I would love to fill that. I think there, from what my understanding is, there's a rule out because he transferred from the Philadelphia Academy that he has to at least spend 1 year on like the lower level teams. Like he's not able to be called up, is my understanding. He's signed a professional contract,
Yeah.
and he's obviously killing it with FCC too. It would be a dream right now because obviously we would love to have a striker there, but um, yeah, I think there is some sort of clause or rule in that from what I was reading that this year at least he's not able to. He's able to train is my understanding, but next year is really the year that he can participate. But speaking on like players like that, I think an honorable shout would be looking at Kenji Mambadem, so
Yeah.
the FCC2 striker that had a goal just yesterday. He's killing it. I'm again biased, being a Dayton guy. But Kenji's been doing really well. I think he's got 5 goals this year. He's been really heating up the last, I think, 5 or 6 games. But a bigger striker, I would say not like huge. He's not like a Brandon Vasquez type of striker, but I think he'd be a nice fit for a U22 spot. But I mean, right now you can bring him in really as your homegrown guy. I believe you'd be able to do that. So maybe you go out and get a U22 striker, like I mentioned the last time. The other question though is Aaron Bupenza staying. So we did not see Aaron Bupenza, in training or in practice. Apparently he was sick. But the question would be, obviously at this point, it's already been, 11 days since the transfer window opened. If they were going to offload this guy and get rid of his contract, you would have thought they would have done that already to open up that DP spot to bring somebody else in. And from all the articles I've seen, interviews with Pat, they're trying to build this guy's minutes up. So obviously that's what they're going to say right now, being that he's on our roster. But behind the scenes, are we still working on offloading him? I know a lot of people are calling for that, but it would open that DP spot up. I think we had to kind of pivot towards center back first and then see kind of what we're left with. And there's still time. We have plenty of time to fill that. But to get acquainted with the team and to build for the second half of the season, we're running a little bit, close to that call, I would say, to get these guys acquainted for the rest of the season.
Yeah, the interesting situation right now that we got going on with the FC Cincinnati forwards is just it's weird. It really is. We've got a lot of them and not a lot of production, right? So you got Boop, you got Corey Baird, you got Kelsey up top, you got, Kubo as an option, Santos, like all these guys that intermittently, throughout the season have been able to provide just nothing as of late. So what do we bring in, somebody that's going to challenge for that spot? I know we tried Dotto up top as well. Like, do we bring in a younger guy to kind of ignite the flame, which that was supposed to be Kelsey, but I guess like Kelsey's kind of fallen out with the coaching staff. It seems like he's not getting as much playing time as we would hope because we see it on the field. Like he holds up play really well, and he maybe he doesn't. There's not like the best chemistry with if you put him next to Santos or Kubo or whoever else, Corey Baird that you put up top. Like he doesn't have the chemistry yet there, but as far as another center back. Like, Ryan, are we looking at getting another center back? Because I know for a while there it was Matt Hedges, and then John Brooks is still out there too. He's still a free agent. Another guy with U.S. men's national team experience. Like, those two guys could be the guys if we were to get another center back, right?
I would think so. And, really, if we were going to go interleague from the MLS, I would have felt like something would have maybe happened by now. Conversations have been had with other teams at this point about it. But the international window is open. So are we going to value more of a inner MLS type thing. I think that's honestly what the roster is kind of building up to be at this point. We can't go for a high value or high money guy with the other spots that we have to fill. So
Yeah,
I
not at
think
this
if it's
point. Yeah.
anything, like you said, it's maybe a Matt Hedges for the rest of the season because we locked up Chido for a couple years and his salary is going to be a little bit bigger. But it is very interesting. And, what does that look like for Miles Robinson going into next year, too? That's a conversation for another day, but it is interesting and to see kind of where we go with the rest of the transfer market. So stay tuned. We'll probably have some things hopefully coming up here soon about that. But before we go to break here, Sam, I have a trivia question for you if you're ready.
Yeah, hit me.
So, what is FC Cincinnati's record against teams that are not from the US or Canada all time? And this is for MLS only.
MLS only. Okay. Because I was my brain immediately went to, and I wasn't thinking about it to begin with, was USL days of like playing Crystal Palace, at home, like in Nipper State. And you saying MLS helps me a lot more. I hope, but um, I'm gonna go the record against the teams. I'm gonna go 5-1-3.
All right. This is again a nod towards the fact that we play a Liga MX team on Thursday as a part of League's Cup. So interesting to kind of see what their record is against these teams. Stay tuned to the end of the episode and we will give you the answer. We'll be right back. Hey, FC Cincinnati fans, we are pumped to share our new sponsor, Peak Cocktails.
I'm sipping on the passion fruit margarita, which is so spicy and it makes me feel like I'm on the beach.
Ooh, that sounds great. I'm drinking the Blood Orange Spritz, which has a great subtle ginger flavor coming from its scientifically formulated recipe to promote exercise recovery, enhance relaxation, and support a better night's sleep.
Ryan, that's exactly why I love them. Their cocktails are designed to fit seamlessly into your health conscious lifestyle, giving you the enjoyment of a delicious adult drink without the downsides of alcohol.
Guys, next time you are looking for that post-workout drink or an afternoon pick-me-up, grab a Peak Cocktail. Visit them at www.peakcocktails.com and use the code FLYINLION at checkout to get 20% off your first order. Zach, enjoy your drink. Welcome back, everyone. We are here tonight chatting on a lot of different topics around FC Cincinnati. We did not have a first team game, but we had second team game, we had all-star game, we had Olympics, we had a lot of FCC representation. But before we get into some more of those things, Sam, I got to hear your card of the week because there's a lot of funny things going on around the MLS, the US, all over the world.
Yeah, I mean, a lot of card of the weeks. I think for me, I could have gone with so many. Just I want to do a quick honorable mention for card of the week this week. My honorable card of the week, which it won't be, but gosh, if I would have done some research into it, it would have been a good one. But just seeing with the Olympics, the Canadian women's soccer team coach and the whole situation with the drones and them. I think she got banned for a year, and I think the other two assistant coaches that were flying the drones, and it was like their idea, they got fired as well. And I think Canada got punished, like I want to say like a deduction of like 6 points or some odd points. So big oof for the Canadian national team over there. Obviously Jesse March wasn't involved, but he's on the other side. He's men's side. But my actual card of the week is just going to be a little bit more simple with the loss to League MX All Stars in game and in the skills competition. I think, like I said earlier, I think all of the U.S. major sports have yet to kind of find that great balance in their skills challenges. MLS versus Liga MX was entertaining, but you could tell which pairings or players wanted it and which ones didn't. Um, I mean, I know you're not going to hear me say this very often, but shout out to Cucho for giving it all like in front of the Columbus crowd for the skills competition and the game. Like he actually really tried, and I think he was almost in every single skills competition. But in an all-star game, it's going to be all offense. But my goodness, was the MLS defense bad? Like that was really bad. Obviously they got unlucky a little bit hitting posts and crossbars, but not a great showing for the MLS in front of the whole world.
Yeah, no, great point. I mean, especially if we're going to be, hey, we're better than Liga MX, and look at all the players we have. I mean,
Yeah,
you
I've made
have
that
several
statement
guys from
before.
the MLS. What'd you say?
So I've made that statement before.
Yeah, I mean, like you see, like Vasquez goes down there, Amaya's gone down there, Yakamakis has gone to the Mexican League. So, I mean, a lot of these guys from MLS, like, is that the next stepping stone now? Like, I don't know. It's kind of like a year to year thing and how it flips. But then we kind of get influx of guys in too that bring it back up. But you have to show well against those guys, and whether that's a Champions Cup, whether that's All-Star game. It's always good when like, the MLS or the US guys can perform well. And I think it is kind of telling, at least this year, that, they swept those competitions. To your first card, though, or your honorable card with the Canadian team in the Olympics, like I heard somebody else talking about this as well on a different podcast. I think it was a US podcast. And like, what are you going to get out of doing a drone over the practice for soccer? Like seriously, are you going to get like set pieces? Like besides, how do they do corners or, which way do their players go in PKs? Like what else are you going to
Yeah,
gain
like
out of that?
what doesn't like what does film not show you that you have to like use a drone to be like, oh well, film just doesn't do it, so we got to fly the drone. Let's get real time actual footage. Like, what are we doing? What are we doing?
Yeah, I'm not sure. I mean, it's kind of bewildering to me. I don't really understand it. But my card of the week, Sam, I'm gonna go with the Philadelphia Union's Jose Martinez gets a yellow card before their Leagues Cup game even starts. They were playing Charlotte FC this past weekend, and Jose Martinez gets into an argument with the center referee in warmups and gets a yellow card, which I didn't even know was an option. And I think the Charlotte, account even tweets out like, didn't know that could happen, but now we do. So we had a couple weird like ref situations. Leagues Cup's gonna Leagues Cup. We saw that last year. The second thing, and my second part of my card of the week is DC United for their Leagues Cup game had to reschedule their game because their field was so bad. So they're resodding their field. This is an MLS team that has to resod their field and reschedule the game because of how bad it was. And granted, FC Cincinnati just won up in DC like a couple weeks ago. I went to the field last year and I thought it was terrible. I learned, and shout out to Laurel Filler for this, that they do not have a head grounds person for DC United in our nation's capital. Like, I don't know how that happens in professional sports.
No, I feel like that's a very, very important part of the operations of the entire stadium, is the product on the literal field. Um, that is pretty funny. Both of them, I had no idea that you could get a card before the game even started. Um, imagine just I can only imagine just what was going on in like the tunnel or something like just before the game. You're like, did the ref just give him like one of his teammates being like, did that just happen? Like, is that real or is he
Imagine
just
Jim Curtin
messing?
telling like Jose, like, you're already on a yellow. You have 90 minutes not to go and get another one.
Yeah,
Like,
I
that's
think
crazy.
I think that's hilarious. That once again, it's been a crazy week, even though we didn't have any MLS play. Like so many things happening in the world of soccer that it's just been ridiculous.
Yeah, we had I think Club Tijuana coach that headbutted the center referee.
Yeah, yeah.
So I mean, come on, there's just been some ridiculous things, and again, like Leagues Cup is gonna Leagues Cup. So just very interesting as we build up though. For Leagues Cup coming up here, we did get the chance to go to the open practice on Sunday.
We were on site.
So yeah, Sam and I got to go with a lot of, I think, 5,000 season ticket holders for FC Cincinnati. Really cool event. Nice that they had opened up the stadium, or at least part of the stadium,
Yeah,
to go and to watch the guys warm up and then do some drills. For those who are listening and thinking like you guys are crazy to go on a Sunday morning, yes, you're right, we are.
yeah. Of course.
But I mean, Don Garber, Sam, is talking about how Atlanta United had 1,400 people at a Open Cup game, but FC Cincinnati draws 5,000 people for a open practice. Come on. This fan base is phenomenal.
Doesn't get any better than FCC fans and how much we love the team. And to your point, we're driving down there and we're looking right, and estimated 5,000 fans are coming, and this is after three straight losses. Like the fan base is not wavering. We are behind our players like 1,000%. And it was a good time. Everybody had a good time. I think that the two biggest things that popped out to us, obviously player wise, was Chido, right? Chido was there. It was awesome to see him zooming in on the camera, being like, "Is that him?" Yep, that is him. Okay, awesome. Because he was sitting over on the seats across from us. But then we didn't see any Obi and we didn't see any Boop. We got some confirmation on both. Obi getting his green card, and like we talked about, opens up an international spot eventually, and also means he wants to stay here, which is nice to see. I think the addition of Chido maybe incentivized him a little bit to be like, you know what, if my best buddy over here is going to be here for a while, then I'll be here for a while as well. Which is, I think it's nice because we've seen the past couple months, like FCC fans have kind of been calling for Obi's head a little bit. And it's nice to see that not only the club, but also he feels like, hey, I should stay here for a while.
Yeah, I mean, Obi's a key part. Obviously there's areas that we wish he would improve on a little bit. But I mean, having Obi is better than not having Obi at this point. Like, who else are you going to put in that spot? Like, no
Yeah.
one.
Yeah.
You have no one to fill that spot that can do the same thing. The Bupenza part, Pat Noonan says that Bupenza was sick and the rest of the team had a flu that was going around. These guys did have some training last week during the All-Star break, but no one else was missing from practice. So I don't know what that tells you there. We'll see. We'll see. Like we mentioned earlier on, just stay tuned to that one. But it would have been interesting to see how he practices, Sam. I know how he plays, but how does he
Yeah,
practice?
because
I
we
would
we
have
watch
really
him.
loved to see
Yeah,
that.
we watch him on the pitch, and the fitness is just it's not there. So yeah, I would have been curious too to kind of see what the fitness for Boop is like in practice.
Yeah, for sure. And then, really, we did get to see some 77s, some sort of competitive type things.
Kubo was showing out.
Yeah, I was literally just about to say that Kubo was the MVP. Dude had probably what, 8 or 10 goals, in the
Oh
practice
yeah, on
session.
the little mini
Um,
goals. Oh, he was killing it.
he did so well that he was asked to leave, playing. I think it was obviously just to give him a break and Lucho a break, but they're like, Kubo, slow down. You're scoring on our defense too much. So that was kind of funny to see. We did get a chance to actually get an autograph from Alvis Powell as well. So shout out to Alvis. He's a really good dude and appreciate all he's done. Sam's holding up the rally towel there that he signed, but it was really cool to see those guys go around at the end of the practice to sign autographs, to throw some balls into the stands, Sam. So shout out to Sergio Santos with
Oh my
his
gosh.
left-handed cannon.
Yeah.
For those not there, he was signing the balls on the field and launching them into the second level. So maybe the Bengals could use Sergio Santos's arm if Joe Burrow goes down. Hopefully not.
Does that count as a loan? Can we loan him out to the Bengals? Do you think that's an official transaction?
I mean, it is a different part of the season. He could play with the Bengals for that part of the season and then come back, in the early spring. But yeah, really cool event though. Open practice was awesome. Would love a chance to get out to Mercy Health sometime and see what it's like out there too.
Yeah.
But yeah, I thought that was really positive. I mean, even on a Sunday though, Sam, like we mentioned, we had practice in the morning. FC Cincinnati too had a game that afternoon, and we had, I think, an estimated 600 people at this game when we played Chicago too. And we actually just destroyed this team.
Oh, killed him.
I think it was what, 5-1
Yeah.
on the day, and it was a really good moment for us because it puts us in second in all of the MLS Next Pro as of right now with 38 points. We are tied for first in the East with Philadelphia Union. Steven Chirilla had a PK, like I mentioned earlier. Uh, Kenji had a nice goal. And yeah, I mean, really cool to kind of see these guys just continue to do well. Um, Anything you saw from this game?
No, I think this was just a huge statement win, right? Just another big win for the FCC2 squad to once again continue to solidify that our program is the real deal. And we're putting up quality players and quality results. So to go up against obviously like Chicago is not, the best right now. And it is what it is. But I think yeah, it's another sellout crowd at NKU and another statement win for the young guys. And like you're gonna mention here in a little bit, we're gonna see some of these young guys get called up.
Yeah, I mean, for Leagues Cup, we had the opportunity, with this competition. We have Kenji coming up. We have Nico Ben Alcazar, who we saw get called up for Dallas earlier in the season, and Moises Tamblante. So a guy that we brought over from Orlando, who was their captain down there, scored an unbelievable goal yesterday, actually. Go check that out. And then he celebrated with a backflip. So dude's pretty special. But yeah, I think that the FCC two team, like you mentioned, is rolling. They're really building, Sam, off of the home crowd. So this year they're 6-2-2 at home and 6-3-0 on the road. The first team could take some notes from the second team in home form, in my opinion.
Yeah, I think should we should we switch? Should we start playing at NKU Stadium and then and they start playing at TQL? Like, is that
I'm good without the turf, personally, just for the
okay?
turf
So no
part.
switch, no switch. Just you're talking. Just we need a little bit more oomph in front of the home fans. Is that that's what
Yeah.
I'm hearing.
And I mean, if we keep selling out at NKU, maybe we have to move all FCC two games to TQL. Just a thought.
Yeah, just the
Just a thought.
just the
We do have a game though, Sam. The Cincinnati FC Cincinnati first team does play in Leagues Cup. So this inter-season tournament that we are starting, again on Thursday, we play Quintero FC. I'm definitely butchering that. Uh, Quintero. How do you pronounce that one, Sam?
Kitaro. I
We
don't know. We're
play,
not we're not Liga MX, supporters. So if anybody in the
yeah.
comments or anybody, that listens wants to correct us, please let us know that we're saying it wrong.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, we play them at home, which I'm excited about. We are playing a team that has no wins this year in Liga MX, but just in 4 games. So it'll be an interesting game. They do have Ake Loba, a former Nashville designated player, on their team. And then one honorable former player that they have, one Ronaldinho, the former Brazilian national team star, and probably Barcelona star too, and I would say AC Milan star. I mean, how many different teams has this guy
He's a
played for?
star. Yeah.
But played for this team in 2014, which I was fascinated to kind of see. And I think led them to a final, but did not win a trophy with them, from what all I'm hearing. You can go and find Ronaldinho's jersey on eBay actually for this team. How many of those do you think we're going to see in TQL Stadium on Thursday, Sam?
Well, I just ordered mine. So I think you'll see. No, I'm just messing. I do think it's very interesting that, Ronaldinho played for kind of a no-name Liga MX squad, right? I know we had talked about, the big names of Liga MX, and Quintero is not really up there and has never really been up there. So I did some digging into this deal. And apparently to get him to Quintero, Ronaldinho was visited by the president of the club, and he said that he was very grateful and said that nobody has ever, not like I guess a president of a club has never come directly to his house to talk to him to get him to join the club. There was also a confidentiality agreement in Ronaldinho's contract, which means his salary cannot be revealed. However, the Mexican press did some digging around that time, and it was widely reported that it was around $2 million per year.
Hmm. Which in 2014, compared to now, 10 years later, would that be probably about 5 or 6 million a year,
Decent chunk of
potentially, I would
change
say.
for somebody, of their age, right?
Right.
So,
Yeah. Yeah. It would have been really cool to see Ronaldinho play for this team because
oh,
right now,
in the League's Cup. Oh, Ronaldinho in the League's Cup. Jeez, will be.
be great for the MLS, for Apple TV, tell you that much. But this team right now is nothing too special, to be honest. And I,
Yeah.
I feel like depending on what team we play, which is kind of to my next question to you, do we go with our main starting lineup, Pat's saying, hey, we just lost 3 games. We need to find our form. Do we play kind of a rotated roster, in this one? How do we approach Leagues Cup, Sam? If you're Pat Noonan, um, what do we do?
So I won't claim to be anywhere near the knowledge of Pat Noonan, but I I think you might have to see a little bit of a rotated squad, but to your point, to just get some momentum, do we put the starting lineup out there just to like, okay, get some confidence for that, core group of guys? What you could really see if he goes with that core group of guys that we usually see, and it's just a strong starting lineup, you could really see if we get out, a goal, 2 goals ahead, you could really see the young guys get early sub appearances, either right out of halftime or a little bit out of halftime. So that way those starters can kind of get the confidence they need, get ahead, and then be able to kick it back a little bit.
Yeah, I think in this game, I would agree with that, especially playing a decent, team and team I guess you're not really as familiar with. I look at kind of this game and then we play NYCFC on the 5th as well as kind of big games to tell me where Pat goes with the rest of the season. In my opinion, he goes with the normal back line that we've been putting out for now and trying to get those guys on the same page. I think probably Lucho is going to play, one half, but not both halves. And then you see kind of a mix, like you mentioned. I think you get Buka or Wobodo rest, depending on if he's back from getting his green card. So that probably opens up opportunities for Pinto. It's widely reported, at least around FCC circles, I shouldn't say widely reported, but that Bupenza is going to potentially get more minutes as well to kind of get his fitness levels. But one interesting note, I had seen that Alacan has a hip injury. So we have Paul Walters and Evan Leroux as our backups. So I'm seeing your point that you put in here about, PKs. And obviously last year we had Can in 2 different PKs. I think in Leagues Cup, we had one that we won against Sporting KC, I believe. And then
Yeah.
we lost one against Nashville. So do we go with a younger keeper for this or not, Sam? Or do you think that's why they recalled him from his loan to get him more experience?
Yeah, I think it doesn't hurt to throw him in there. I think Evan still gets the nod. I mean, shoot, I don't know. Roman may get, the nod. Not really sure what Pat's feeling, right? Just depends on the overall squad. If he trusts if he gives more of like maybe a starting back line, like a bigger solid back line, and then goes with like an Evan Leroy or Pat Walters to like help him in the back. But yeah, I think PK wise, I'd rather lean on the Evan Leroy for
He's
that.
the expert apparently on the team. He's like the guy that they rely on for PKs. From what I'm hearing,
Yeah.
is like in training. That's who Lucho goes against. So they have a little friendly competition there. Shout out to Evan though. He just had a child this week actually
Hey,
too.
shout out. Hey.
Yeah, just I think on the 27th, but he was at open practice yesterday, which I'm like, man, props to him.
He's dedicated. He's dedicated. I mean, we saw the little kiddos and running around open practice. That was pretty fun.
Yeah, absolutely. I think it was cool to see them out there and having fun with their kids. The players were just obviously relaxed and
Lucho's son.
oh yeah, my gosh, Lucho's son was all over the field during the practice. But as we bring it back to the game on Thursday, though, I really do think we get a solid result out of this game. If we win either in regular time or in PKs, we will advance to the knockout phase. So Quintero had played NYCFC in New York. They ended up going to PKs and NYCFC advanced. So they get, I think, what is it, 2 points on that?
Yeah, two
Technically
points.
is what
Yeah,
it
because they
is.
won the PKs. Yeah.
So, I mean, that's something to look out for. Just any solid result out of it will to help us advance in that. And then we do have the NYCFC game the next Monday, which again is another home game. So advantages of being higher up in the rankings there to get that second home game. That one is not included in the season ticket package, Sam. So I don't know what kind of attendance we're going to see. I feel like the one on Thursday for sure will be attended. There's always going to be Liga MX fans that show up to these,
Yeah.
but it'll be interesting.
So I mean, for the NYCFC game, it's a soccer game on a Monday. Like, it's just not Leagues Cup. Gosh, I know we talked about it a lot last year, and it's just to your point, it's the lowest on the totem pole for everybody, I feel like, and they're trying to force this so hard, and it's just not. It's not it. It's not it. Nobody really cares about it. And it'll be interesting to see if the fans care about it. I know you had we had just mentioned about Don Garber talking about Atlanta. Hopefully he doesn't talk about us like that. Hopefully, like we do have a decent crowd on Monday, which I feel like we will. Just not to the magnitude that you would normally see, especially if it was part of the season ticket package.
Do you think we get wins in both games? What's your predictions?
I'm gonna go 3-0 against Quintero for our boys, and then against NYCFC, I'll go 2-1.
Yeah, I would agree. I think probably 3-0 is a good estimation for the first one, and then I'm gonna go 1-0 for the game against NYCFC. But really big games to bounce back, tournament style. So obviously similar to the playoffs in some ways. These games aren't, obviously knockout ones, but still the idea of you have to win to advance is still there.
Yeah.
And I think that's really important going down the stretch. This is the time that we really need to start to kick it into gear and to find ways to win, especially at home, Sam. I think that's really important, no matter who we're playing.
Yeah, because having two guaranteed games at home, right, could give us the jump start that we need in the second half of the season to go, okay, we're going to re-solidify our home kind of play here in the Leagues Cup and hopefully take it into the MLS.
Yeah, and I mean, if you look at last year's, so obviously we do advance, we beat Chivas, and then I think KC we also won in that one. So we play Nashville at home, and you lose, and you have like what 3 weeks off after
Yeah,
that point. So then we go and play Columbus at Columbus and just get spanked. So I don't want it to be the same thing. We go to Inter Miami off the flip side of this break. So I don't want to just have two games or possibly a third game and that's it. We need to get Chido in there. I'm hoping at least in training he gets out
something.
there.
Yeah,
But yeah, let's hope by even next Monday that he's out there and actually getting some minutes. To me, that's the best case scenario is for him at least on Monday, just in a meaningful game. I don't want to see him out there for the first time in a meaningful game against Inter Miami.
yeah,
If possibly, Messi's out there. Who knows what his health looks like, but will be interesting to see.
yeah, absolutely. Ryan, you ready for this trivia?
So again, our trivia question of the week was, what is FC Cincinnati's record against teams not from the US or Canada? And this is only in our MLS history. This is again reference to the fact that we do play this Liga MX team on Thursday. Sam had locked in, I believe it was
5-1-3.
5-1-3. So the actual record, you got it wrong,
Yeah,
was
of course.
4-0-2. So we've won 2 games against Cavalier, the Jamaican team. We've had 4 games against the Liga MX. We won 2 games against Chivas, and then we've lost the 2 against Monterrey.
Okay. Well,
So
I threw a couple extra ones in there. If you -1 on every single one of mine, I got it right. So that's
or if you want to go back to the USL era and you
yeah,
do and include the Crystal
yeah.
Palace, I don't think we won that one, but
I still don't. Yeah, I still don't think it'd be a right answer, but that is
yeah,
pretty
but just
interesting though. No draws, only two
right.
losses.
Yep.
Not
So
bad.
we'll see what happens with this week. I again am excited. It's always a lively atmosphere when we do play the Liga MX
Yeah,
teams. They always support their teams well in the States. Kind of weird for them that they don't get like home games per se in Mexico for this
yeah.
competition. If you want to call it a tournament that like is vying for an important thing, but
Well,
then
I
these
do know
teams aren't playing
the
at
other
home.
Liga MX. There are the other Liga MX teams that get like home field advantage. I think when it gets
Well, they're
past,
they're putting them closer to
that's
where
what it
they're
is.
at. So I
Yeah,
think like Houston or Dallas for some of the teams as an advantage with that, which is again is just fascinating how like all of this has just been set up. There's no history to it.
yeah.
It's
Just go
all
play.
just created. Yeah, and whatever. I mean, that's again another conversation for another time. But thank you everyone for joining us tonight. We will see you guys next week to recap these games. Like, comment, subscribe, and again, we'll see you next week.